The story of Tottenham Hotspur's dramatic turnaround in the 2019-2020 season proves resilience and psychological acumen is necessary for any significant win. It was a cold November evening when Spurs faced off against Olympiacos in a crucial Champions League group stage match. By halftime, the scoreboard painted a grim picture. Tottenham trailed 2-0, their dreams of advancing hanging by a thread. Inside the locker room, a palpable tension filled the air. The players' faces were etched with frustration and disappointment, each one grappling with the prospect of defeat. It was then that their manager, José Mourinho, delivered a stirring speech that would become legendary. Mourinho's words were not just about tactics or motivation. They tapped into a deeper psychological principle known as loss aversion. This concept, rooted in behavioral economics, suggests that humans experience losses more intensely than gains. The fear of losing something often drives people to take actions they might otherwise avoid, spurring them to extraordinary efforts to avert that loss. "You're not just playing for a win," Mourinho intoned, his voice steady and commanding. "You're fighting to avoid the pain of loss. The loss of pride, the loss of progress, the loss of this moment." As the second half commenced, it was as if a different team had taken the field. Spurs played with a ferocity and cohesion that had been absent earlier. They pressed harder, passed more crisply, and attacked with relentless determination. The fear of loss had galvanized them, transforming anxiety into action. Within minutes, Dele Alli found the net, reigniting hope. Spurs' momentum built steadily, with Harry Kane leveling the score soon after. The fans' roars grew deafening, a wave of support that seemed to lift the players. Finally, Serge Aurier struck the decisive goal, completing a remarkable comeback. The final whistle blew, sealing a 4-2 victory that would be remembered for years. The psychology behind loss aversion is simple. Humans hate to have things taken away from them. When an outcome is framed as a loss, athletes tend to perform exceptionally hard to avoid it. Extensive research supports this, with one of the most potent real-world examples coming from the PGA Tour, demonstrating the effect of loss aversion on professional golfers. In a study of 2,525,161 putts from the PGA Tour between 2004 and 2009, researchers Devin Pope and Maurice Schwitzer observed a disproportionate number of completed putts for par compared to attempts for birdie. An impressive 82.9% of putts for par were successfully made, while only 28.3% of birdie attempts were sunk. Not all putts are equal, as many birdie attempts are likely from more challenging distances than par attempts. However, even when the researchers averaged out the distances, golfers still made 3.7% more putts for par than for birdies. But why? The researchers theorized that loss aversion plays a significant role, while both situations, missing a birdie and missing a par putt, result in the player being one shot worse off. Psychologically, sinking a birdie is viewed as winning a point, putting the golfer one under. A bogey, on the other hand, is seen as losing a point, one over, prompting golfers to elevate their performance in losing situations. Loss aversion also leads to another golf-specific issue. When players miss birdie putts, they tend to leave them short, positioning themselves more advantageously for the next shot. Overhitting risks placing the player in an even worse position. Loss aversion is clearly observable in golf, but its influence extends to a variety of sports and situations. A notable example is seen in soccer matches, particularly towards the end of games. When a team is leading, they often shift to a more defensive strategy rather than continuing to attack and extend their lead. This shift occurs despite the fact that many league structures reward high goal differences or aggregate scores in two-legged tiers. This tactical change might seem counterintuitive, as it appears to contradict the logic of maximizing advantage. Teams that have performed well throughout a match often alter their approach, even when their original strategy was effective. This phenomenon can be explained by a psychological principle known as endowment theory. According to endowment theory, people or teams become more loss-averse once they have gained something. In the context of soccer, when a team scores a goal and takes a lead, they view the game through this new lens. With a 1-0 advantage, the urgency to score additional goals diminishes. A win by a single goal is deemed nearly as valuable as a win by 2 goals, especially since both are more beneficial than a draw. Loss aversion also influences tactics in the first leg of a 2-legged tie. Away teams often play defensively and focus on counterattacks, while home teams aim to avoid conceding an away goal, which carries greater weight than a home goal. However, the behavior of fans seems to violate the idea of loss aversion. Consider the results of the English Premier League over the 5 seasons from 2014-15 to 2018-19. Out of the 20 clubs competing each season, only 3, Manchester City, Tottenham, and Arsenal, won at least half of their games. Fans supporting the other 17 clubs were more likely to experience loss. Another way to look at this is to consider the winners over these 5 seasons. In the English Premier League, 3 teams won: Manchester City, Chelsea, and Leicester. This pattern of producing few winners is repeated and may be more extreme in other countries. For example, in the German Bundesliga, Bayern Munich has won each of the past 5 seasons. In the French Ligue 1, Paris Saint-Germain has won 4 times, as has Barcelona in Spain's La Liga. Still, stadiums in England and elsewhere are packed to the brim. How does this align with the theory of loss aversion? These cold statistics line up with more detailed research. A 2018 study by Peter Dalton and George McCarran of the University of Sussex tracked the responses of 32,000 UK football fans using a smartphone app called Mappiness. The app pings people and asks them for their mood at particular times. By combining data on the locations of football stadium match dates, teams playing, and results of those matches, the researchers were able to assess how people's happiness changed in the hours after a football match. The team a fan was likely to support could also be interpreted from the data. The findings revealed that despite frequent losses, the emotional highs from wins and the overall experience of attending matches and supporting a team outweighed the impact of losses. This suggests that while loss aversion is a powerful psychological force, the communal and emotional aspects of sports fandom can mitigate its effects, keeping stadiums full and fans passionately engaged season after season. But this is different for football players. Kylian Mbappe's tenacity during the finals of the 2022 World Cup was nothing short of extraordinary. As the match progressed, the stakes couldn't have been higher, with France trailing Argentina and the clock ticking down. Yet, it was in these high-pressure moments that Mbappe's resilience and determination truly shone. In the 80th minute, with France down 2-0, Mbappe stepped up to take a penalty kick. The pressure was immense. A miss could have sealed France's fate. But with ice in his veins, Mbappe slotted the ball past the Argentine goalkeeper, sparking hope for his team and igniting a fire in his teammates. Just a minute later, in a breathtaking display of skill and composure, Mbappe scored again. A beautifully executed volley found the back of the net, leveling the score at 2-2 and pushing the game into extra time. His quick succession of goals showcased not only his technical prowess, but also an unyielding mental fortitude. In extra time, Argentina pulled ahead again, making it 3-2. But Mbappe was not done. In the 118th minute, he completed his hat-trick with another penalty, once more equalizing the score and forcing the game into a dramatic penalty shootout. Despite France eventually losing the shootout, Mbappe's performance was a masterclass in perseverance under pressure. Mbappe's incredible display can be closely related to the concept of loss aversion. Loss aversion, a principle from behavioral economics, posits that the fear of losses motivates people more strongly than the prospect of gains. In the context of the World Cup final, the potential loss of the coveted trophy and national pride pushed Mbappe to extraordinary lengths. In those final minutes, the fear of losing the World Cup drove Mbappe to dig deeper and perform at his highest level. His urgency to avoid the crushing disappointment of defeat propelled him to score goal after goal, refusing to let the dream slip away without an immense fight. Mbappe's tenacity exemplifies how the fear of loss can fuel extraordinary performance when faced with the imminent threat of losing something valuable, whether it's a match, a trophy, or national pride. Athletes often find a reserve of strength and determination that can lead to remarkable achievements.